This is more intended for the young guys in the audience. Or, if you're a young guy, you may be watching this, you haven't even been in your first relationship. And I'm not saying this is not for the women, but, this channel is ultimately geared towards young men. And that's just the reality of it. But, I've seen it in myself, when I first got in my first relationship, and I've seen it in a lot of my close friends, whenever they got in their first relationship. And, there's this idea that, this is forever. This first relationship is forever. And the reality is, I'm not saying that if your first girlfriend's not gonna be your only one and you're forever, but the reality is it's most likely not. Statistically, like it's just not, and that's just the reality of it. First loves, they're encapsulating. Life it really is all about love. Life we're like humans are built. They're built to love. We're geared towards love. We're encapsulated by it. It transformed who we are. The way we act, what we do. We sometimes we make our whole life about love, and that's fine. But you know, my experience and my sufferings that I've gone through have led me to believe that you can't revolve your whole life around, and I'm not even talking about your first girlfriend. You can't revolve your life around any woman. You have your own life. You are your own person with your own identity, and when you get so wrapped up in this idea that this relationship is forever, and you start foregoing your own dreams. You start forfeiting the things that you want to do, the places that you want to go, the person that you want to become for this relationship. You start to lose who you are, and that it's a really slippery slope. And I don't want anyone to experience that, because when the time comes, you're most likely going to break up. That's just the reality of it. And I'm sorry if you want to hear that, but you know just when you're so young, there's a very low chance that the first relationship is your forever one. I don't think I've ever met. Actually, no, I've met one person, but one person out of what the thousands of people that I've met in my life, only one person that I know of has one relationship that they've kept throughout their whole lifetime. So if that's only one person out of thousands of people that I've met, or thousands of couples that I met, the reality of it is that you're probably not going to last. And so this idea that you need to revolve your whole life around this person, and that you need to make everything about them. You need to go follow them wherever they go and do whatever they do, and forget about who you want to be. It's a dangerous road. It really is. It's a dangerous road full of heartbreak, full of suffering, full of identity crisis. I remember the days where I didn't know who I was. I was so involved with, oh, this is me. This girl is me. Uh, I day to day life revolved around her schedule, what she was doing, and it's ironic because a lot of times the women don't forgo that. They have options. That's just the reality of it. Women more than men, unless you're like a very high value, wealthy or just very attractive man, you usually don't have a lot of options unless you're just a bot. But that's another discussion. But statistically, even like the good women, they have options, and just the reality of it. That's just the way life works. So you know, if one guy doesn't want to revolve their schedule around hers, there's 10 other guys who will, and that's just the reality of it. But I'm telling you, on a long term basis, on a life basis, where once you realize that you don't want to waste this life, there are things that you want to do personally. Like there's so many things that I want to do, and I get so encapsulated with them that I forget that a relationship's even a thing sometimes. And that I'm not saying that's healthy. I don't know, but um, that's just the reality that I live in, because I get so focused in and dialed in on my goals and where I want to go and the things that I want to do and the person that I want to be. Not even a couple months from now. I'm talking about like 5, 10 years from now. I know where I want to go, and The one thing that I will never do after I learned my hard lessons, and I ate crap for a little bit and I ate it in the dirt. I was face in the dirt, wondering what am I gonna do, crying alone in a parking lot, having no idea, like sleeping there, like crying myself to sleep in a parking lot, and having no direction because my whole life was wrapped around this girl. I had built up this fantasy, this fiction in my head, this fictional world in my head that this thing was forever. This bond, this relationship was forever. And the cruel reality of the world is that it wasn't. And and then I'm not gonna really go into much about letting go and moving on. That's a topic. That's a different topic for a different video. But this is solely about you. Becoming the person that you want to become requires you to build your own tower. And something that I found really effective that I found online one time was that you have these two towers. You have your tower and you have your girlfriend's tower, or your wife's tower, your spouse tower, your partner's tower, whoever the case may be. What you don't do is you don't build it in like this, because once one of them goes away, your partner, everything goes down, crashing down. And God forbid, this is 30 years down the road when you get divorced, you have 5 kids. You're like, damn, like my whole life's gone. My whole life is so encapsulated by this woman that's gone. So, you know, which is that's the worst case scenario. But this is ideally the situation you want to be in. You have your own life. You have your own life, your own dreams, aspirations, careers, money, whatever the case may be. You have your own thing going for you. So that way, when this like not inevitably leaves, but in the case that it does leave, I'm not praying or like telling you that it's gonna leave. Like I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you just have to be realistic in the fact that when you're so young, the chances of them leaving are very high, and as you get older, they drop. But the reality is that this is most likely going to leave. This girlfriend is most likely going to leave, and so now you're left. You're left with something. You have something to work with. You have your own identity. You know who you are as a person. You know the places that you want to be, and you still have something left. You have your own identity, and you're not left in the dirt with nothing. Feeling like you're homeless. Lost, because that's a grueling process, and I don't want anyone ever to have to go through that, because I've been there, and I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you've been there, and I've seen it time and time again with some of my younger friends, or even some of the friends my age or older. They become so encapsulated with, oh, I'm gonna hang out with my girlfriend like every single day of every single hour, and my whole life revolves around her, that they forget that they're their own person. They need to be doing their own thing. And I'm not saying like a girlfriend is bad. I wish sometimes that I had my own partner, but at the end of the day, like I will never sacrifice my dreams for someone else. I've recognized that my life is my life, and until I find someone that I'm willing to change for, which I haven't, I'm gonna continue doing what I want to do. And even if I find that person, I'm such a driven person, and I need a purpose, because otherwise I feel lost and depressed. That I can't give up these goals. I can't give up this job, or this business, or this career, or these projects that I have ongoing, because that's who I am. The idea that this relationship is who I am, that was younger me, and I'm sure that may have been younger you, or maybe it is you right now. I always find myself in a constant process of growing, and that's me, and that keeps me happy, and that keeps me content. Not this relationship. Yes, this relationship is nice. Yes, this relationship keeps me content in a way, but if it were to go away, I know that I would be okay. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna hurt. That's not what I'm saying. Hey everyone, this is editor soul searching the next day, and while I was editing this video, I thought of a really really important story that came up, and I think it's a perfect example for the topic that we've been discussing about your own identity and who you are. And one of the stories that I came up, or that I experienced a couple months ago, was this really close friend of mine. He was dating this girl, and they're still together to this day, and they're really good for each other. But he came to me and he was like, why? Like, he's also like me. He's very driven. He wants to build his own career. He wants to build his own thing. He he wants to live an extraordinary life. And him and I have always related to that. We've always been very similar in how driven and how ambitious and how passionate we are about the things that we do. And so he came to me and he was like, why, like I'm dating this girl, but I want to break up with her. And I know we're good for each other, but I feel like she's holding me back. I feel like every day that I'm with her, like I resent her because it's not because I don't like her, it's because I want to do my own thing. I want to be my own person. And prior to this, they had been spending like 5, 6, 7 days together every single day, spending the night with each other. Um, waking up with each other, going to bed with each other, like spending their whole afternoon together. They go to class and they come home and they spend the whole night with each other. And this guy wants to have a life. He wants to do his own thing. He wants to go to the gym. He wants to build his business, whatever the case may be. You fill in the blank. And he felt like he couldn't do it. He felt trapped. It caused him to resent his partner. And so I've seen it firsthand. And I told him, I was like, look, a relationship is not who you are, like I said before, but it's supposed to complement who you are. This relationship is supposed to complement your life. It's supposed to complement the things that you do, the person that you are. That's what a relationship is. It's supposed to, in a way, complete you, but it's not everything that you are. If that girl were to leave, or if he was to leave that girl, it's because he wanted to find who he was, and he felt that his identity had become that girl. And I told him that it hadn't. He was nowhere near that, but he did need to start making healthy boundaries to allow him the space and the time and ultimately the energy to explore who he was. He's not even in his 20s yet, and this is one of the most transformative points in a man's life is that age from like 16 to 18 to like all the way to like 22, 23, 24. This is who you decide who you are, and this is ultimately like now to put in the work, now to put in that effort, the grind. Everyone talks about the grind. This is now, and he wanted to do that, and this relationship was holding him back. And I told him, look, this relationship is not bad for you. Like, I don't think y'all should break up. I think you need to set boundaries. You need to tell her that you are your own person, she is her own person, and you both need to have your own identities separate of the relationship. This relationship is meant to complement you, not be all that you are.
I hope that this video shares some sentiment and that you can find some lessons or you can relate to this in some way. I know it was kind of like a spring upon video, but I've seen it time and time again in a lot of guys who they get wrapped around a girl's finger way too quickly. And when that girl like unfortunately leaves and they feel like they're left with nothing, and I don't want you to feel like you don't know who you are. Start focusing on you as a person, who you want to become, where you want to go in life, and ultimately the right partner is going to come around for you who's going to complement that life. They're not going to be that life, they're going to complement it, and that is a beautiful thing that I hope all of you get to experience one day. But for now, focus on the things that you can control, and that is becoming the person that you want to become.